In what is another case of every accusation being a confession, an Ohio State Republican representative has been charged with domestic violence after he had ran a campaign accusing his Democratic opponent of doing domestic violence. Okay, so now State Representative Bob Young, who's a Republican from Greene in Ohio, was charged Saturday with domestic violence and disrupting public services, reported the Ohio Capitol Journal. Young was arrested after allegedly striking his wife in the face with his open hand, later following her to his brother's house, where the legislator allegedly instigated a fight with him. So, assaulting two people. Lovely. Now, the report states that he had lowered his shoulder, charged at another individual, assuming that it would be his brother, but we don't know. During the altercation, one person was cut with broken glass. Someone tried to call 911. Young had grabbed the person's phone, allegedly, and threw it into a pool. So, pretty serious altercation and allegations. It's not good for Mr. Young, Mr. Robert Young. Now, as a result of this, you have Republicans, some Republicans that are calling for him to resign. Others, two female representatives from across the aisle, by the way, are getting together to reintroduce a bill to provide protections for victims of domestic violence. State Representative Juanita Brent, a Democrat of Cleveland, and Representative Sarah Carruthers of Hamilton, a Republican, are now working together to bring that bill back to a vote. Juanita Brent said, quote, "We cannot keep talking about prayers and responses for those affected by domestic violence. The state of Ohio needs to make that change and pass this law." So now, I tried to find out whether or not this guy actually voted against this piece of legislation. Couldn't find any information on it, but I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, so I would love to give you that information. Maybe if this comes up for a bill and he's still in office, because so far he says he ain't going nowhere. Well, we'll see. We'll see. With that, members of his own party are calling for his resignation. For example, House Speaker Jason Stevens. By the way, they went to a fundraiser together that night. Apparently, after Mr. Young had left is when the altercation had happened. Now, others are saying, let's not be too hasty now. In fact, here's State Representative Josh Williams, a Republican, saying, "I don't want to jump the gun as it pertains to Representative Young. As a defense attorney, I want my client to have the benefit of innocent until proven guilty." Right. So now, I mentioned the irony, so let me get into more details, right? Young is serving his second term after he was elected in 2021. He's being sued by a former Democratic rival over an ad he had created with the help of the state Republican Party, alleging that he was guilty of domestic abuse. Former opponent Matt Shaughnessy is seeking more than $1 million in general and punitive damages in his lawsuit because he had never been charged or convicted of domestic violence. So amazing, right? I mean,
amazing.
This guy goes and runs an election and then wins after he had baselessly claimed that his opponent was a domestic abuser. Ran ads saying, "Look at this wife beater. What a terrible person. Never elect this guy." And then it comes out that you're the abuser. Oops. Oh, actually, you know what? It's not just oops.
Whoopsie.
The hypocrisy knows no bounds. Wow. I couldn't imagine. Now, Shaughnessy talked about this and he said, quote, "I'm actually saddened to hear of these allegations. Is it ironic that the guy who accused me of being guilty of domestic violence? Absolutely. But domestic violence always has victims, and my thoughts and prayers go out to Mr. Young's family right now. So look, I can only imagine how much restraint you had to have to not rip this guy a new ass. Okay? Like, especially, like, first of all, you accuse me of domestic violence, and then it turns out that you're the one doing domestic violence. Oh, it'd be so hard not to say something. To not just go ballistic. Not in a physical way, but just to go on a tear. Now, he got in a little bit of a jab, and that's good. Saying, oh, a little ironic, right? Just a little bit. Oh, I'd have gone a lot harder. Again, rhetorically. But I would have ripped into him. But I guess some people are nicer than I am, have a little bit more class. But again, you get somebody who's saying these awful things about you with no basis in reality. Calling you a white beater, it's just the dirtiest of dirty politics when you don't have any evidence of it. So, yeah, I guess I got to give him some credit for having the restraint to try to go the classy route. But at the same time, no, this guy deserves much, much worse if these allegations are indeed true.